Hey, my name is Jobby, and today we're taking a look at the Monsterarts Alien Big Chap. Visually speaking, this figure is disgustingly beautiful. I mean, look at his face, look at his body, look at his ass! Every inch of the figure is expertly painted and sculpted. The silver dry brushing on the figure is just amazing and really brings out the detail. Now in my Bumblebee review, I said that the underside of the car looks like H.R. Giger's nightmares. But the alien is actually H.R. Giger's nightmares. Or wet dreams.
That's a penis!
So while everything looks good on the figure, I do have an issue with the head. Now I know that in the film his head was transparent, but I don't think it was that transparent. Completely showing the skull just diminishes the creep factor for me. I mean, in the film version, you really had to look closely to see the skull. It had that, if you see it, you'll shit bricks quality, you know? But anyway, the sculpting on the skull is awesome, and I'm not that unhappy with it. Another issue I have to point out is his tongue. Out of the packaging, it was really hard to get this tongue out. In the directions, it just says that you have to put his face down and the tongue will fall out. But that did not happen. And I actually had to come in with a pair of tweezers and pull it. I don't want to mess up the figure. However, I did fix this issue. I got into the back of the jaw here, sanded it with some really fine grit sandpaper. This is about 600 grit. And that allowed me to open his mouth wide enough so that the tongue just falls out. So yeah, if you have this figure or you're planning to get it, just be wary of that. Also, the tongue looks great. Also, the tip of the tail is die-cast metal, which is kind of weighing down the tail. It's very sharp. You could potentially murder someone with this, which is always a plus. And his knees are also die-cast. The metal parts give him a good weight, but it makes it somewhat hard to stand him up. But that's what this is for! And this is a really cool looking stand. So you simply clip him on, and there you go! In addition to a stand, he also comes with a pair of hands. Hey, that rhymes. These hands have slightly more bent fingers than the normal hands. Also, they're the same hand. He's got two left hands! Inside each hand, there's a sculpted in L or R indicating whether or not it's left or right. As you can see, this is a left hand. And this is also a left hand. Two left hands! That's messed up! How could this happen? No, sir, it's not all right. It's all left! I don't use these hands much anyway. They're barely different from the normal hands. And at least these hands have a left and right side. And I'm just finding a lot to complain about because another issue I have is the head articulation. His head is on a ball joint, but he could barely look left or right. And he could look up only a little. It just would have been great if his head had more range, you know? However, the rest of his body is extremely flexible. His mouth can open, of course, and his body is segmented much like the Monsterarts Godzilla. And he could crunch. Really crunch. This back flap behind his head can move up and down, and each of these little tubes are on a ball joint. And his arms can rotate 360. They can go in and out. They have a swivel. They got an elbow. They got a wrist. It's a very functional arm. His legs can rotate forward and back, and he can do a little bit of split. And he can bend at the knee. He's also got a nice range on his ankle, and he's got a tippy toe. And oh god, the tail. Just can move everywhere. This is a fairly tall figure. Here's a Dinobot, Figma Ryuko Matoi, and Godzilla. And despite both being Monsterarts figures, they are not in scale. Not at all. This is a bit better, but not by much. And I just gotta do this. Shut up. So despite his flaws, this is a very good figure. The paint and the sculpt and the posability make up for any problems I have. Not quite the perfect organism that Bilbo Baggins said he was, but pretty close. So if you've seen an Alien movie, tell me which one is your favorite in the comments. And if you haven't seen any, at least check out the first one. It's a great horror film. Also talk about isolation or colonial marines or whatever the kids are into nowadays. So if you like this video, leave a like or a comment. And don't forget to subscribe for more toy reviews. Also, I gotta thank all you wonderful people for getting me to over 100 subscribers. You don't know how happy this makes me. That might not be much compared to Game Grumps or something, but it matters to me. So why don't you go ahead and tell your friends about me? Raise that number up so I can disappoint more people.
I was dumbstruck. You are my lucky charm. I'm lucky in your arms.
What the fuck are you still doing here? Get out of my house!